A mother mourning the loss of her son in a boating accident on the job is calling for a thorough investigation into the incident. Michelle Gomes of Guyana said her son, Nathan Alicock, who worked on the boat Midnight Chief, died from an accident in March, but she is getting conflicting reports on how he died.
My son working on a boat, Midnight Chief, left home last February, but working with the company since he was 18 years old. We get a call on the 12th that he was injured.
12th of
March, that he was injured on the boat. Asked how. They say that he was pinned to a container. An excavator pinned him to a container. They say he hooked the lever and the excavator pinned him to the container. After then we came here the 15th of March. When we came here from the airport, we got a letter for sign from this office, Upkins office. We didn't sign it because it wasn't relevant. To take us to the hospital, Christopher take us to the hospital. From the hospital, carry the guest house, and there is where we remain until this date. The police report that we get, it ain't got nothing stating that it was being investigated. Nothing like that. No crew member name, no statement given, nothing. They're saying it's an excavator, but the pathologist say he see two metal pin him.
Gomes traveled from Guyana with a family friend after getting a call about the death of her son. They both have been in St. Kitts and Nevis to address the matters pertaining to her son's death, but she said she still lacks some crucial information.
The insurance sent us the letter to sign, and after we read it and we see it wasn't appropriate, I didn't sign it, and they sent back a next letter with the letterhead coming from the insurance for me to sign for the arrange for burial and whatever. That's all I know about the company.
That's the only interaction you've had with the company.
Yes. And oh, sorry. I knew that my son had a month's salary outstanding. I asked them for provide it because we didn't have no cashier. And Damian Hopkins, he came and gave us the money. I signed for it on his pay slip. And never see or heard anything back from them till now. All I need to know is what went wrong with me, child. Nothing else. I need a proper investigation to be done. I need to know what went wrong with me, child. He came here to work. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He was working with this company, Midnight Chief.
SK Newsline contacted Mr. Damon Hobson of Hobson Enterprises, who affirmed that Nathan did not work for his company. Gomes has been assisted by at least two Guyanese living in St. Kitts and Nevis, as according to her, she has not been getting much cooperation from the Guyanese council rep on the island.
Yeah, she came a couple of days after we came here. Give me story to her. She was to get back to me, give me a card. I called she about 10 times, never get her. Go to her office, because I give she some of my son's document for run through. She said she can photocopy it and bring it back. She never did. I had to go to the office to find out about it. Call she phone, and get it. And probably like somebody must tell she that I was asking for her, and she show up on the Thursday. She already went and get the report from the station, had it in her bag, and didn't even tell me that she get it. And this morning we go back to the hospital for collect the medical report. She already had a paper there stating that she come for collect the medical report. I don't want she to play no part in this.
SK Newsline spoke to the General Counsel of Guyana in St. Kitts and Nevis, Denise Allain, who explained that she has been informed by the relevant authorities that a police report on the incident is not yet complete, as investigations are still ongoing. She also said that she has been assisting Ms. Gomes by gathering the relevant information from the competent authorities, and when this is complete, it will be forwarded to the government of Guyana. I am Andre Huey reporting for SKN Newsline.
Good evening, I am Chiari Morton here with SK Newsline. I am here at the 2019 Primary School Championship where Charlestown Primary School won. They defended their title. I am here with one of the coaches and he would give you a rundown on the races and training and everything.
Well, my name is Ryston Queely, the coach at the Charlestown, one of the coaches at the Charlestown Primary School. As you guys may know, we participated in the 100 meter, the 200 meter, the 4x1s, the 800, the 1200s, and the 4x4s. I think the children went out with a purpose. They went out and execute a task that the coaches asked them to do. The children went out there and they had fun. As you guys may know, we was dominant in the 400 meter. We didn't do so well in the 60 meter. But in the other races we were dominant. But overall, even though we was dominant in those 60 meter, those 1 or 2 points counted at the end. I must give credit to the other schools. They came out with a purpose also. They came out, they showcased their talent. The kids came out, they had fun, they execute what the other coaches taught them. And you can see the friendship within those children. At the end of the day, you got to remember those children are kids. And this meet, for me, show me these kids making friendship with other schools, and that's something I really like, because in this day and age, you know, the gang violence, etc. But to see these kids come out and make friends with each other, that's something I hold to heart.
And how do you feel defending your title?
Well, I feel wonderful defending my title. It's always harder to defend than to just come and win. Last year we came and we won, but this year I set my program. The other coaches and I had an input in the program. We came out and we just set our program, execute the task, put the children on their strict diet, and the strategy worked. So hopefully we could use that same strategy going into next year to defend again and try to repeat.
The scores and places for the schools. First place, Charlestown Primary School with 218 points. Second place, St. Thomas Primary School with 184 points. Third place, Joycelyn Liebert Primary School with 138 points. Fourth place, Ivor Walters Primary School with 131 points. Fifth place, Elizabeth Pemberton Primary School with 65 points. Sixth place, Maud Cross Preparatory with 52 points. Seventh place, Violet O. Jeffords Nichols Primary School with 48 points. Eighth place, Nevis Academy with 18 points. Ninth place, St. James Primary School with 15 points, amounting to the total of 869 points. I am Chiari Morton reporting for SKN Newsline.
The recent court ruling in favor of opposition leader Dr. Denzil Douglas in the diplomatic passport case is a blow to Team Unity, according to political pollster and analyst Peter Wickham. Mr. Wickham was speaking on the radio program Let's Talk St. Kitts and Nevis, which airs on SK Newsline's sister radio station, Voice of the Caribbean Radio, at voiceofthecaribbean.net.
At a more broad level politically, I think it was surprising to me, the outcome. And I think it comes as a blow to the unity government, because I imagine that they also would have expected a ruling that was more favorable to them, and a ruling that essentially said that the passport which Dr. Douglas carried, said he was a citizen of Dominica, was an indication that he was indeed a citizen of Dominica through some way, shape or form that he would have achieved, or at least applied for that citizenship.
According to Mr. Wickham, the results in the case will not necessarily add votes to the opposition's St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party, but may perpetuate the notion that Team Unity may not be as politically shrewd as the opposition leader.
That I don't believe that it necessarily wins or loses votes, but what I do believe is that it has a lot to do with how the Team Unity government is regarded. One of the challenges that Team Unity faces is a perception of weakness, a perception that it is not as politically strong as the Labour Party is, a perception that it can be outfoxed by Dr. Douglas, a perception essentially that Dr. Douglas is more politically shrewd than Dr. Harris is. And I think that what the case has done is that it has helped cement a number of those perceptions in people's minds. Now, whether or not that converts to votes is another matter, and I'm not necessarily convinced that it does.
Mr. Wickham believes that Team Unity, in order to reassert its image, may need to appeal the ruling.
Team Unity has an election to prepare for, and I think it's important that we note that in between that case and now, we have had not one but two public opinion polls that have suggested that Team Unity is doing reasonably well on the ground. This cannot be a focus for them. I don't think that it is useful for them to be distracted unduly by the pursuit of this case. This cannot be a basis on which they attempt to win the next election. I think it needs to focus on performance, and it needs to focus on the delivery of all of the promises that were made in the last election. Aside from that, my thing is, yeah, of course, definitely you can pursue an appeal, and I think that it should be pursued independently to the highest court in the land. Team Unity had substantial success at the Privy Council before. Maybe it needs to return to the Privy Council now to see whether the Privy Council will view it more favorably than the local courts did, as was the case in the past.
The government had brought a case against former Prime Minister Dr. Denzil Douglas, arguing that by possessing and using a diplomatic passport for Dominica, he contravened the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis, and by having allegiance to a foreign power. The government side asked the court that Dr. Douglas, if found guilty, be asked to vacate his seat. However, Justice Trevor Ward, in his ruling in February, said the defendant obtained the diplomatic passport solely as a gesture of political and professional courtesy extended to him in his capacity as former Prime Minister. The judge also argued that under Dominican law, the voluntary act of acquiring and using a diplomatic passport by a non-citizen does not place the holder under an acknowledgement of allegiance or adherence or obedience to Dominica. The government has hinted that it may appeal the ruling. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
At Nagico, the things that matter to you matter to us. Like knowing you're fully covered after an accident, the security of your home and everything in it that means so much to you. And knowing that even when the weather does its worst, you and your family are covered. At Nagico, we're about much more than just insurance. We're about the big things and the small things that mean everything.
How does it feel when you got that feeling? You got the flavor you love. How does it feel when you know you're not dreaming? There is nothing above. So good when you're feeling nice. So good it tastes just right. So good the place to be. So good it's KFC.
How you feel when things come together? How you feel when everything nice? How you feel when you're up on your ends with your friends? Everybody holding a vibe now. How you feel when things come together? How you feel when everything nice? How you feel when you savor the flavor, the feeling you get when you taste every bite?
So good when you get that meal. So good is the way you feel. So good at a time of day. So good is what you say. So good when you dance all night. So good it tastes just right. So good the place to be. So good it's KFC.
In today's world, so many ordinary businesses pass themselves off as something special. But what's really special is what you're looking for. Don't settle for anything less. Inspiring women to be their own kind of beautiful. Offering a comfortable place to shop for quality products and excellent service. We have everything you need. Looking for fashion? We have top quality jewelry. For makeup? We have them. Black Opal, Revlon, perfume, and much more. Lucky Cosmetics Hair and Beauty Supply Store. We carry an extensive collection of hair and beauty products to look your best. We are located at the Circus Taxi Stand, Bastyr, St. Kitts. Call us at 869-466-7541.
Meridian Medical Pharmacy is the best place to get your pharmaceutical products. We make filling prescriptions easy. Our well-stocked pharmacies are ready to serve you. Check us for medical supplies, skin products, supplements, and so much more. Ask about flu vaccines. At Meridian Medical Pharmacy, we are focused on offering a professional, personalized pharmacy experience. Our service is personal, compassionate, and friendly. Located at our state-of-the-art medical facilities at the corner of South Independence Square Street and Adlam Street in downtown Bastyr, St. Kitts. And now we have a new branch on Frigate Bay Road in the Sugars Complex. Call 465-5096 and 465-3306 or email pharmacy@meridianmedcons.com. Visit Meridian Medical Pharmacy today and experience professional, customer care and fast prescription fill-in service. Meridian Medical Pharmacy. Political pollster Peter Wickham is of the view that the Team Unity government should be in no rush to call elections, as there is not a lot to be gained in an early election. In fact, Mr. Wickham believes elections will be called within 3 months before they are constitutionally due mid-2020.
To me, there's not a lot to be gained by going early because I feel that Labour Party is as ready as it will ever be. So you're not going to catch the Labour Party off guard by going early in the feeling that you will be able to have some strategic advantage, as was done with Prime Minister Brown in Antigua and Barbuda. I think it's a different scenario in St. Kitts and Nevis. So my feeling is that the Prime Minister will call an election probably within 3 months of the due date. And I think that under the circumstances, is a reasonable thing to do.
There have been speculations in some quarters that the Prime Minister, who has the sole prerogative to call an election, may call elections this year before they are constitutionally due in 2020. Several dates have been bandied about by the opposition, but to date, the Prime Minister or anyone in his government have not hinted to elections being called anytime soon. Mr. Wickham believes calling an early election would not be the best approach for the government.
There's no element of surprise really that he can capture, and I think that he should perhaps try to prove another point, which is that he has the capacity to stay up until the end. Because if he calls the election too early, there's going to be a feeling that he called the election because he had to, for one reason or another. In the beginning, we were told that the Harris administration could not make 100 days. We were next told it could not make 1 year. They've made it to the halfway mark, and I feel that it will now see itself as having an obligation to take it all the way up to the end. To prove essentially that, look, it is an administration that can stay together, it's a coalition that can hold together, and it's a coalition that can fight and probably win.
Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris was asked at his monthly press conference on Tuesday when one can expect elections to be called.
Mr. Prime Minister, do you have a date already in mind for the election? And is there a possibility that we can see an early election?
I have not yet begun to think about elections. I am thinking about continuing to serve the people, the poor in particular who need the health care. I'm waiting for our national health insurance scheme to be advanced further. And there are several other things that we have to do on behalf of the people. We are not anxious over an election because we know what the outcome will be. We have had 2 independent polls which have said that Team Unity is in good standing, and we believe our work continue to speak for itself and that we are in high favor with the people. So whether it come early or it comes and the exact date, which is somewhere in July or August of 2020, we know that we will win. So we continue to do the people's work. The people gave us a 5-year mandate, and we are looking after the people's business. We have time to make those determinations.
The opposition St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party has been hosting several public meetings and announced their list of candidates for the next general election, indicating their readiness to contest the polls. The Labour Party has 3 seats in the National Assembly, while the Team Unity Coalition, comprising of 3 political parties from both islands, has 7. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris has found himself at the center of a swirling political controversy in St. Vincent and the Grenadines after he was caught on the stage of a ruling party rally there Wednesday night. Harris was captured on the podium sitting alongside Vincentian leader Dr. Ralph Gonsalves at a rally called to mark the Unified Labour Party's 18 years in office and to celebrate the defeat of 2 opposition election petitions recently. The sight led to some immediate trolling from the opposition New Democratic Party supporters and even some officials, with one social media post calling the petition leader ungrateful. The NDP was the most vocal movement in the region supportive of Harris when he was fighting against the reign of his former leader, Denzel Douglas. Its support included helping to raise funds to help with the much-covered battles over the constituency boundaries. NDP supporters immediately reposted online Friday a demonstration in St. Vincent a few years ago where NDP officials were standing side by side with Harris trying to demand answers about Douglas's rule near a CARICOM conference.
Well, the welcome has been overwhelmingly positively in support of democracy in St. Kitts and Nevis.
In immediate comments to Carib Update News, Prime Minister Harris said he was in St. Vincent to attend a regional security system meeting of which Gonsalves is the chairman. He said that his appearance at the meeting was in no way a political endorsement of the ruling party meeting, but that he was there because he needed to have an urgent discussion with his Vincentian colleague and he had little option but to meet him at the rally. Prime Minister Harris said that he will forever remain grateful for the friendship he has had with NDP leaders, particularly former leader Arnheim Eustace. I am Cassia Goddard reporting for Carib Updates Primetime Caribbean.
Opposition leader Dr. Denzel Douglas has denied claims that the codes that were recently struck down by the courts in the case of Leon Natta Nelson versus the government as being those his former administration implemented. Natta Nelson was deemed to have contravened the Civil Service Code of Ethics as it pertains getting involved in active politics. But the court essentially ruled that government can restrict public servants from becoming involved in politics. But those restrictions have to be consistent with the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. Speaking at a press conference on Wednesday, March 29th, Dr. Douglas challenged the notion that the Labour Party crafted the codes which are being enforced by this government.
The law that has been deemed unconstitutional is a law that has been with us since colonial times. I'm sure it goes back all the way into the 50s. And several administrations over the years, as I've seen in the press, written in the press, have sought to have many attempts to revisit that law. In fact, I can tell you, when back in 1987, I accepted the election of the delegates at conference, the Labour Party conference. I accepted the election to become the deputy chair of the party. That law was used against me. As a result of that, applied by the Dr. Simmons administration. And so this is no law that Douglas created.
Douglas says his government revisited the act in 2014 and brought a version before the National Assembly. The opposition leader was supported by his deputy leader, the Honorable Marcella Liburd.
This new law now says there are no restrictions. So I think that civil servants who were wronged, whose rights were infringed, now have an opportunity to have some sort of compensation for their rights.
The Honorable Conwys Maynard also supported Dr. Douglas.
There is no law that prohibits what happened with the Dr. Douglas case. There is no Douglas law that Leon Natta was fighting against, as Dr. Douglas clarified, a colonial law that had gone through its iterations of improvement and whatnot and had some left to do. This government is all about deception, total, rampant deception, and we have had enough.
I am Chiari Morton for SKN Newsline.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune in for Caribbean music and programs, news, sports, entertainment, vibrant discussions, and much more. Tune into programs like Get Up Mornings with Carl D. Springett, live on weekday mornings. Let's Talk St. Kitts and Nevis with Andre Huey. The Caribbean News Hour and The Quiet Storm with Magic Man. Tune in to great music to inspire you each day, only on Voice of the Caribbean Radio at www.voiceofthecaribbean.net or on our Android mobile app in the Google Play Store. Just search Voice of the Caribbean. We're also on TuneIn Radio. Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check our website for program listings.
Now you can have SKN Newsline on the go. Introducing SKN Newsline Android mobile app. Search SKN Newsline in the Google Play Store. Download the app free and stay up to date with TV news in St. Kitts and Nevis in the palm of your hands. With this app, you can watch your news reports, watch our live news feed on SKN Newsline TV, engage with us and other app users in the chat room, look at our special features, send us news tips, and call us directly. It's news on the go. The SKN Newsline Android mobile app. Download it free today.
Want to promote your business or event to a vast growing audience? Then advertise with SKN Newsline and get a comprehensive package for our advertising services. When you advertise with us, we promote your business or event on multiple platforms, both online and offline, including our sister radio station, Voice of the Caribbean Radio, our Facebook pages, and affiliate networks and offline marketing. That's effective, creative, and unprecedented. Simply put, we offer what our competitors don't at a really affordable price. So visit our office on Central Market Street, Basse-Terre, and speak to one of our knowledgeable and friendly sales representatives, or call 765-7254, 668-9013, or 665-7496. Get your message out on SKN Newsline and our affiliate network of marketing tools. Marketing done creatively.
Get up mornings with Carl D. Springett on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, Monday to Fridays, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Be energized from the spoken word, daily blessings, black facts, health tips, divine connections, kingdom happenings, weather, SRN news, and more, with star-studded interviews and testimonies and practical principles to help listeners do what the mantra proclaims. Get Up Mornings with Carl D. Springett from Faith Walkins, Love Talkins, and Joy Livings. Get up and be energized with Carl D. Springett, Monday to Fridays, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Get up mornings with Carl D. Springett. The St. Kitts and Nevis Carifta team returned from the Cayman Islands with only one medal this year, a bronze in the boys 4x400 meters. At a press conference Thursday at the Cricket Dining Room at the Warner Park, General Secretary of SKN Athletics, Keith Phillip, introduced the media to the team that medaled at the Games.
Cadiente Willet. Cadiente Willet. And then Overleel Roberts. Khalil Roberts, sorry. Khalil Roberts. And then Kemali Roberts, that's correct? Yes. And then K. Anthony Benjamin.
Mr. Phillip gave an overview of the performance of Team St. Kitts Nevis at the Games.
In our under 20 male hurdles, Mr. Sharim Hamilton placed fourth in a time of 53.62. In the under 20 males heats 400 meters, Mr. Leroy Chapman did not get out of the heats phase, and he did his race in a time of 48.18 seconds. In the under-20 males hurdle also, Mr. Janaza Francis, he pulled a hamstring, and so he was not able to complete his race. The under-17 male javelin, Mr. Cado Strawn, and this is a newcomer to our Carifta team. He threw a distance in the javelin of 47.83 meters. Now, I took a little time to speak about him because the reports from some of the coaches who saw him at the games indicated that if he can better his run up for delivery, he will be a very good javelin thrower.
Mr. Phillip was asked by the media present about the level of preparedness ahead of the games and whether this affected the team's ability to win more medals.
Appreciate that the various schools, and before the athletes are selected, they are involved in the various schools. The schools ensure, or well, the schools indicate that they want their athletes to perform for their school activities. And so even if we identify athletes prior to that, the athletes would not be able to come away from that, from their training for their for their school event in order to be available for preparation. But again, it has to do with the selection, the final selection of the team. Again, there is nothing different this year than there was last year. And we have been for years now constrained by that.
Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Sports Sean Richards encouraged the athletes to continue to strive for excellence and not settle for just their accomplishments at the just concluded Carifta Games.
While the team may not have done as well, you may not have come first, I think that your participation on the regional stage would have enhanced your efforts as a team, would have enhanced your skills as a team. And when I refer to your skills, I'm not just referring to your athletic abilities. You would have met other athletes from around the region. You got the opportunity to compete against them. You got the opportunity to develop your athletic skills. You got the opportunity to network with other athletes. You got the opportunity to look at their form, and perhaps in looking at their form, you would have seen how you yourself can also improve your form.
Jamaica won the 35th straight Carifta Games with 85 medals. Last year, St. Kitts and Nevis won 4 medals. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline. Vincentian broadcaster and journalist Jerry George does not buy the explanation from Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, who recently earned the ire of supporters of the opposition National Democratic Party NDP in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Mr. George was speaking Tuesday on SK Newsline's sister radio station Voice of the Caribbean Radio during the program Let's Talk St. Kitts and Nevis.
Do you think that his explanation, in other words, do you buy his explanation, or is it a case of political naivety, for lack of a better term?
Nobody buys it. But, I mean, having said all of that, I mean, people make mistakes, and I want to accept that fact. But nobody buys the explanation, quite frankly. It just does not add up. If you are somebody's guest and you need to see them, it is the host who should make sacrifice to see the guests. The host should accommodate the guests, not the guests going out of their way to accommodate the host. It doesn't work like that. But let me tell you what the big issue is, because all of that has happened, and I see it happening with a lot of our leaders and stuff. Our leaders seem to want to travel around with either without public relations support or protocol support. And I have a problem with that. Our leaders must understand that they are leaders of the nations, and when they go about, they should walk with the appropriate staffing to help them. I'm sure if he had a second person to say, should I do this, they would have cautioned him. But most of our leaders go about the place, they walk with no PR support, they walk with no protocol people, and so they run into problems.
Prime Minister Harris, while in St. Vincent, recently was photographed on the stage with Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves at a Unity Labour Party meeting. He claimed he needed to see Prime Minister Gonsalves urgently, and the only time and place he could do so was during the ULP's meeting on the platform. NDP supporters were not happy with this because they supported Dr. Harris along with the then leadership of the NDP when Harris's Team Unity movement was in opposition and was protesting the non-tabling of the motion of no confidence in 2014. Team Unity was on the ground in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and had the support of NDP supporters who protested outside the location of a CARICOM Heads of Government meeting to get regional support for their protest. Mr. George, in Tuesday's interview on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, said NDP supporters were really angry with what transpired recently and that it is clear Harris made a mistake.
So it is accepted that Mr. Harris said he made an error, and so people want to go on from there. Because at the end of the day in the Caribbean, we're a small space and we have to work together. So it's not that anybody did not want to work together. But I believe that when our leaders or whoever makes these errors, it needs to be brought to them, to their attention, for them to understand the gravity of what has happened.
Mr. George interviewed Dr. Harris after the incident where they also discussed allegations of nepotism. In that interview, Dr. Harris reiterated the point that all his family members were hired under the Labour administration. The Labour Party claims there have been new appointments and promotions of Harris's family members since he became Prime Minister. Mr. George said in the Voice of the Caribbean radio interview that he does not believe Harris's explanation.
And there's a very solid biblical position on this. All things are lawful, but all things are not expedient. So people go down on the road, oh, so what is lawful is this and that, but all things are not expedient, because those are the very things that sometimes appear lawful, and I can do it, that leave you into deeper trouble, the expediency of the matter. So did I believe him? No. Did I think because you come from a big family and so many members of your family in a leading position is a good thing for a country, a small country? No.
The full interview with Mr. George can be heard on demand at www.voiceofthecaribbean.net in VOC On Demand. I am Andre Huey for SKN Newsline. Attorney General Vincent Barron has said the government has begun the process to appeal the diplomatic passport case involving former Prime Minister Dr. Denzil Douglas. Mr. Barron made this disclosure at a recent press conference of the Prime Minister at government headquarters.
He was found not to be in breach. We accepted that decision of the High Court judge, but in consultation with senior counsel, we were advised and we have determined to pursue it further, and we have filed an appeal to the Court of Appeal. We have subsequently filed an application for an expedited appeal, which was heard some 2 weeks ago by a single judge in St. Lucia, who has granted that application, and so we await the Court of Appeal to determine a date when that expedited appeal would be heard.
Mr. Barron insisted that the government has a case to prove that Dr. Douglas, possessing a diplomatic passport from the Commonwealth of Dominica, is in breach of the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis.
And we expect that that question will be answered. It is an important question because if the judgment as handed down here stands, it means that every member of parliament on any side of the aisle, whether in opposition or the government, can have a passport from any island in the Caribbean who is a friendly government. One of the bases on which we were told that Dr. Douglas did not show any allegiance to Dominica, the country in which he has a diplomatic passport, was that he was granted a political courtesy by a former colleague, Prime Minister colleague. It would seem as though our Prime Minister, when he went to St. Vincent the other day, could have been granted a political courtesy and have a St. Vincent passport. I wouldn't accept it. But I would hope not.
The Attorney General is confident the government side will prevail in this appeal and is hoping the matter will be brought up as soon as possible.
We believe that the framers of the Constitution saw somebody who showed an allegiance to a foreign state, had divided loyalty, and could not fully represent St. Kitts and Nevis and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. So that is a matter under appeal. We wait to hear when that date would be set. We expect it to be done shortly, and we would inform you when that does happen.
In February, the High Court dismissed the case brought against the opposition leader, Dr. Denzel Douglas, that claimed by possessing and using a diplomatic passport from Dominica, he was found in breach of Section 28 of the Constitution, which claims he was in allegiance to a foreign power and as such cannot be a member of the National Assembly. Justice Trevor Ward, in his ruling, found that Dr. Douglas obtained the diplomatic passport solely as a gesture of political and professional courtesy extended to him in his capacity as former Prime Minister. He also contended that under Dominican law, the voluntary act of acquiring and using a diplomatic passport by a non-citizen does not place the holder under an acknowledgement of allegiance or adherence or obedience to Dominica within the said section of the Constitution. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.